Okay. Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you tonight with the last little bit of reading I'm going to do from the very first part of this Hitler's Willing Executioners. And like I said, tomorrow night we're going to start going through it as a skim and just hit some highlighted areas. But before we get started, I want everybody to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me if you would. And if you're on one of the three channels, head over to the other the other two channels and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get these algorithms up for us. In the meantime, there's PayPal links down in the details sections. So anybody that wants to share some love, and the panel link is pinned on all three channels for anybody that wants to come up. I want to thank everybody for their support. And tonight, when I get done with the video here, I'm also going to come back with another video on FISA, the Foreign FSIA, Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. And we're going to do a little bit of reading on that and show you why I'm doing what I'm doing. There are certain immunities that apply on both sides of the on the playing field. And this is known as an equal station in life. So if you come in with that immunity in that Lord's Prayer, asking for forgiveness and granting that forgiveness in return because you repent, you want to sit down and do the good works to earn the daily bread with each other, then that's what you have to do. You got to quit going at things in such an argumentative and childish is the only way I can really explain it, childish way. You have to be willing to start open your mind and look at things from an other objective points, so that you can get a clear way of discerning for yourself what everything really means to you in your particular situations. So let's get into it. And as you remember last night, we talked about the Germans killing Jews systematically without any pity. And this is part of the thing about realizing who you are and learning how to operate all three elements of empathy, sympathy, and apathy. And when it comes to those different elements, sympathy is feeling the sadness and everything. Empathy is feeling the joy and the different things that can cause that joy to dissipate. Apathy is the ability to sit back and observe things in an objective manner without letting any emotions affect you, so you can think about things reasonably and logically, so that the empathy and sympathy don't distract you from reality. This is part of the problem of how people get so indoctrinated by believing what other people are putting forth to them. So we continue on. It says, for what developments would a comprehensive explanation of the Holocaust have to account? For the extermination of the Jews to occur, four principal things are necessary. And this is a tactic known out through history of time in many different history logs by very diverse group of world leaders, military men and stuff. They all agree on the same principles. The Nazis, that is the leadership, specifically Hitler, had to decide to undertake the extermination. So there had to be an ultimate authority making a decision. They had to gain control over the Jews, namely over the territory in which they resided. So in gaining that authority and control over the Jews, they did it systematically through various different things throughout time. So again, we see the same thing in American culture. The politics and economics that we strive to chase after that bag. That's what's indoctrinating us into all of this other bullshit. They had to organize the extermination and devote it to sufficient resources. So they had to have the available energy and power, manpower, to be able to affect that. And that's what they were asserting when they went into that war. They were asserting that they had such a power. They had to induce a large number of people to carry out the killings. They needed that manpower, like I just said. So it's important to realize one of the important elements to connect here is, I believe America has the most powerful military, they say. So is America the new Nazi Germany image and likeness and just not willing to accept it yet? Are you going to be one of Hitler's willing executioners, but only the difference is you're going to rename and use a different Hitler type person? Are you really going to be following subject to that kind of kingship that you're going to be willing to kill for that false king? The vast literature of Nazism and the Holocaust treats in great depth the first three elements, as well as others, such as the origins and characters of Hitler's genocidal beliefs. Again, relating back to the Bolshevists and the actions that he was learning from that happened already. It was just a repeat, and it happens again and again and again. And the Nazis' ascendancy to power. Those that gain power do it specifically for those types of purposes. Yet, as I have already indicated, it has treated the last element, the focus of this book, perfunctorily and mainly by assumption. In other words, it was by assumption that they had to induce people to carry out the killings. This is because many people are willing to kill already. They just change their views of why. Again, if you're willing to live by the sword, you're willing to die by the sword. But it's much easier if you have that sword and only use it when necessary and have it there for other purposes. You can use a sword for different purposes. Same thing with a pen. You can use a pen to write contracts. You can use a pen to write treaties, trusts, fictional stories, biographies, autobiographies, news stories. You know, you can do all kinds of different things with, it's not the same intent. The vast literature on Nazi, back to it. It is therefore important to discuss here some analytical and interpretive issues that are central to studying the perpetrators. And that's why I'm giving you my interpretation as we go through and read this stuff. It's important to have those interpretive, objective views other than your own. Owing to the neglect of the perpetrators in the study of the Holocaust, it is no surprise that the existing interpretations of them have been generally produced in a near empirical vacuum. In other words, it's, again, the historical leaders and the way they write the history. Again, I remind you, President Ford, related to the Ford Company that helped produce the military vehicles for Germany, Nazi Germany. Until recently, virtually no research has been done on the perpetrators, save on the leaders of the Nazi regime. In the last few years, some publications have appeared that treat one group or another, yet the state of our knowledge about the perpetrators remains deficient. And again, I don't particularly think that it's any one group of people. I think it's a mass group of people that end up with the same ideological concepts because they've already been induced by the language and the culture. We know little about many of the institutions of killing, little about many aspects of the perpetration of the genocide, and still less about the people or the perpetrators themselves. As a consequence, popular and scholarly myths and misconceptions about the perpetrators abound, including the following. It is a misconception about, it is commonly believed that the Germans slaughtered Jews by and large in the gas chambers, and that without gas chambers, modern means of transportation, and efficient bureaucracies, the Germans would have been unable to kill millions of Jews. The belief persists that somehow only technology made horror on this scale possible. And that's wrong. Assembly line killing is one of the stock phrases in discussion of the event. Assembly line killing was done on the battlefields long before it was done by capturing the slaves first. It is generally believed that the gas chambers, because of their efficiency, is itself greatly overstated, were a necessary instrument for the genocidal slaughter, and that the Germans chose to construct the gas chambers in the first place because they needed more efficient means of killing the Jews. It has been generally believed by scholars, at least until very recently, and non-scholars alike, that the perpetrators were primarily, overwhelmingly, SS men, the most devoted and brutal Nazis. It has been an unquestioned truism, again until recently, that had a German refused to kill Jews, then he himself would have been killed, sent to a concentration camp, or severely punished. All of these views that fundamentally shape people's understanding of the Holocaust, have been held unquestioningly as though they were self-evident truths. This comes when we see like Kyle Kaepernick kneeling instead of holding his hand to his heart and singing praise to a flag. At least the guy had a spiritual foundation. They have been virtual articles of faith derived from sources other than historical inquiry, have substituted for knowledge, and have distorted the way in which this period is understood. When nationalism becomes greater than spirituality, then we have a problem. I want to take a real quick minute to remind everybody to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you would. 3 channels going now: El Perro, Keith Little, and Hecklebus. So if you're on one channel, go ahead and hit the other 2 channels real quick and hit that like, share, and subscribe button there. I want to thank Bohydrus, Jen, Exhibited Meat, Bear Jew, Golden Renaissance, Norm Longstaff. Greetings, everybody. Again, there's PayPal links down below for anybody that wants to share some love. And of course, the link to join the stream is pinned in the chat there. So basically what we're looking at is, again, as I pose, our own ignorances are the one thing that's leading to that supply and demand, because we're not finding better ways of attaining the things that we're wanting and desiring or think we need. We've become dependent on this convenience of listening to our brother and trying to keep up with the Joneses. Inherently flawed. The absence of attention devoted to the perpetrators is surprising for a host of reasons, only one of which is the existence of now over 10-year-long debate about the genesis of the initiation of the Holocaust. Again, it's that ideological sense that builds first before anybody can take an action on it, that would then prove that the ideology is in a great enough number that that action can pose some kind of risk or danger or even prosperity and abundance, whichever way it's going to swing. Which has come to be called the misnomer, the international functionalist debate. For better or worse, this debate has become the organizing debate for much of the scholarship on the Holocaust. Although it has improved our understanding of the exact chronology of the Germans' persecution and mass murder of the Jews, it has also, because of the terms in which it has been cast, confused the analysis of the causes of the Germans' policies. This is taken up in chapter 4. And it has done next to nothing to increase our knowledge of the perpetrators. This is the same similar like concept that I posed in California when they tried to illegalize the use of plastic straws, and came up this quaint idea to go ahead and do that, and ended up using paper straws and plastic wraps instead of plastic straws and paper wraps, while all the while not even paying attention to the real issue, and that is the plastic cup and the plastic lid that you're using in regards to that plastic straw to drink the damn drink that you're drinking. It's pathetic, truly pathetic, that we have people that think they did such a great thing in such legislation and call themselves leaders, and the people say, bravo, bravo, yeah, I'm going to vote for you again next time. Fucking bitch-ass slaves. Of those who defined this debate and made it central early contributions, only one saw fit to ask the question, why, once the killing began, did those receiving the orders to kill do so? Once the order to kill began, or once the killing began, did those receiving orders to kill continue to do so? See, when you start listening to another man tell you to do something in such an egregious manner, and you haven't been aggrieved in that manner, why would you do it? Because you've given up your entire spirituality to another man. That's Peyton on his face. Live by the sword, die by the sword. It appears that for one reason or another, all the participants in the debate assumed that executing such orders was unproblematic for the actors and unproblematic for historians and social scientists. The only one it was problematic for is the ones they were killing. Everybody else agreed with it. Not just the ones that perpetrated it, the ideological followers themselves, the mass public that believed that the Jews were the problem, but those that wanted to step back and stay out of it, and probably rightly so, to write a story about it. But because they weren't involved in it firsthand, they couldn't possibly write the true story about it. That was then passed on to another general public that said, bravo to President Ford. Fucking bitch-ass slaves. And see, I don't have a problem with government. Let's make sure that's understood. I don't have a problem with government. What I have a problem with is the people in government that don't govern. They abuse their power. See, to govern another is to do unto the neighbor as you would do unto yourself. Pure and simple. Romans 13:1. For there is no power but that which is ordained of God. And if you're holding a godly power, you better make sure it was first ordained of God and not of some satanic, demonic thought process where you don't know how to use reason and logic, and you get trapped up in your childhood emotions and don't know how to grow the fuck up. It's sick. The limited character of our knowledge and therefore our understanding of this period is highlighted by the simple fact that however the category of perpetrator is defined, the number of people who were perpetrators is unknown. And again, if you're going to sit back and not do anything about it, you are part of the perpetration. For the things that happen only happen because a good man won't step up and stop it and say, listen, you ain't got no power to do that. You ain't got no right to do that. You're not supposed to be doing that. And we hold equal stations in life. And we're supposed to be able to go forth in love and sacrifice our body, hate even our own life, to stand up for the children of Israel. And we're all children of Israel. We're all brethren. We're all siblings, brothers and sisters, children of God.
You rang?
Another child of God. Look at him. Look at him. What's going on, brother?
Not too much. I had a situation that mimicked what you said very well.
Real quick, I want to point out we got our brother Norman Longstaff up in Canada. it was surprising to find out here a week or so ago that I've got a friend that was from here in Waterloo, Iowa. I used to work with him at a place called the Regis, and they were a inventory specialist, and we would go into the stores and do the stock inventory. And so I knew a lot about that end of the business through this guy that I met locally. And now he's up in Canada with our brother Norman Longstaff. So I just wanted to say thanks. Shout out to Norman Longstaff. He's been one of the guys that's been following me for a while, and he's catching on to the process that I'm speaking about and showing it firsthand and giving you firsthand account himself. So you don't have to believe me. Do your research like this man has done. And don't believe him either. Do your own research so you know how to do it, because ain't neither one of us going to tell you how to do it.
First-hand accounts are really important. Scholarly sources are really important.
So,
and if you don't follow those scholarly sources and you don't, go down those rabbit trails, like for instance, you look at the Pisos and Josephus, you'll read all sorts of information that's really, really, really fucking interesting. Like, wait a second, I didn't know that, but that makes a lot of sense type situations.
Yeah.
No, but the situation, I actually shot a message over to Paul because I was perplexed. Because I look to myself to be a pretty decent, good man, a child of God, the whole 9 yards. And I was in at the local gas station getting some coffee, and apparently it was a union break meeting, yet again, with the sign that says no loitering. Meanwhile, there's these 4 cops that are sitting there laughing about how dumb the criminal was, how dumb the family of the criminal was, and how dumb the people around that situation was. I looked at them. I was disgusted. It was everything in my body not to walk over to them and just be like, you know what? I probably would have gone to jail.
No. Well, I don't know if I'd have gone to jail, but I'd certainly given them an earful of fucking knowledge.
I would have gone to jail.
I just witnessed several felonies, and I'm going to be getting a hold of the adjutant general, and we're going to have a little talk about this.
That might be what ends up, because it's not like it's a first time.
Martial law. It's basically martial law. We got armed parole on the streets, and he's absolutely right. Martial law, Article 10 of the Labor Code, General Orders 100. The martial law chiefly affects the police and the collection of public revenue and taxes for the invading forces or the expelled government, its army, its uses, and the safety of its safety and the safety of its operations. No other purpose. This is why we have the fifth article in the Bill of Rights that talks about they can't take property without military possession and recompensation for required use. They can't just come take it and say, okay, we're going to use it. It has to be required first, so then they can inquire where they can find it, so that then they can acquisition it. If you guys don't understand how operation of law works, language is specific, law is specific, and it has a specific order. You cannot acquire something without first inquiring because you require it.
Yep. Yeah, when the comment that really got under my skin is when they looked at each other and they're sitting there laughing, and the one guy says, "Easy money." I looked at the situation, and the guy, I wanted to kick the box out from underneath him. I really did. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't. I'm calmer than that. But let me tell you, when I realized what they were talking about, and I personally know that man is innocent until proven guilty. So easy money is not easy if it's not money.
Yeah, I'm going to dare him to take a non-military, non-civilian, non-national living soul, a prophet unto the nations, as sanctified and ordained by the very Creator, into a martial law court with the gold fringe flag, as a military officer or a civilian subject to those laws. You will find yourself under your own court martial. Like I said, I'm calling the adjutant general right away.
Right.
You going to tamper with a witness?
That is exactly what I was and still am,
You got to
because
quit
I
being
witnessed
afraid.
their crime.
I'm a witness in the name of Jesus Christ, and you're attempting to kidnap one of the children of Israel and make a merchandise of him, and you shall be put to death.
Yeah. Yup, for treason specifically, right?
Absolutely. I give you knowledge, and I don't care what language you don't understand. You're supposed to understand it, and that's simple.
Right. Boy, I'll tell you, I've never had a acquaintance like yourself, somebody I would never want to work with, never want to do much with, but I'll tell you, your information it's thought-provoking, which is a rare thing in today's society.
Yeah, think
Honestly,
about it. Everybody already believes they have their own authority. Then why not bring them to the equal station of where we get that fucking authority? It's the providence of grace breathed into our nostrils that makes the man a living soul. I ask you again, are you a man? Because
Yes, sir.
you're a man, that is in the definition of animal. Now, if you want to be the dominant creature, then you admit that you're a creator or created in the image and likeness of the creator, and that was intended as a prophet unto the nations, to let them know they have a greater creator than the patronymical earthly father, for there is but one Father which art in heaven, you bastard motherfuckers.
So when I ask that, or when I have conversation, because it's going to end up coming up, they go on break quite often, which is fine. I mean, we all deserve a break, sure, whatever. I don't commit treason in between, but nevertheless, I know that it's going to come up again, and that's going to be some pertinent information, because I'm just, it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. It's like literally every time I go to the fucking gas station, I don't go more than once or twice a day, like once in the morning, once in the afternoon type thing. Every time I go, there's 4 or 5 fucking cops sitting right there just laughing and carrying on. There's a sign that says no loitering. That is loitering.
Yeah.
At the very least, it's loitering.
And we've got to remember, folks, you know, back when I was a kid, we had this thing called the Neighborhood Watch Program. They had the signs with the owl and the little blue house thing or whatever. And you had a blue star on the house if you were a safe house and these kind of things. And today I urge people, we've got these devices, and I know many of us have several devices, and we need to start learning how to use these. These are broadcast stations, folks. They cannot interfere with 911, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Learn the importance of speaking in the name of Christ as a redeemer. Hey, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. I come with immunity, and I grant you immunity. This is forgiving my brother as I ask them to forgive me. In repentance, I redeem my brother who sold off his belongings or committed a sin. I will redeem him. And in that, I'm redeeming you too, because we're all sinners. It's a new day. It's a new slate. Why? Because the land shall not be sold forever, because we are strangers and sojourners with him. And in all of the lands of your possession, ye shall grant a redemption. And if your brother be waxen and poor and sold off some of his possession, and one of his kin come back to buy back that possession, he shall redeem his brother. This is simple. You have that power, and the only power you can express through that is by the truth. That means you have to be able to dismiss all their bullshit. And again, like I said, in order for them to acquire something, they must first inquire it. And before they can inquire it, they have to require it. You can't just go around wantonly taking people's shit. You have to have a need for it. This is the basis of being able to go into a store if you're truly starving and hungry, and take something to feed you for the day. You don't walk into a store and take 3 weeks supply. That's fucking stupid. It's called reasonability and ability to know that you have faith in yourself, that the next day you might find that fucking miracle if that's what it takes. Otherwise, it might be just as simple as asking for some little bit of work that might end up being an inspiration on both sides, and you end up working for the guy for the rest of your life. And you do so faithfully.
Ironic story about that. I drove past a homeless man today, or somebody panhandling on the side of the road, which I don't care. I mean, if you want to beg for money, that's up to you. That's your consequences, yada, yada, yada. Well, the guy was a younger guy. He was rather strapping. I mean, I work in an industry that you kind of need a couple of muscles for. Um, and I asked him, I said, well, let me ask you this. Do you want a job? He said, no, man, I work way too hard out here. I make way too much money out here. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know what? Good for you, dude. At least you were honest. You didn't try
Yeah.
to take advantage of me. You were honest about your living situation, And honestly, it made me have a little bit more respect for the man.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember up in the Appalachians, there were times where I'd go into town, and of course, being living in the mountains, you don't really carry money. I didn't even have a fucking wallet. Okay. So walking around without any money, it led that opportunity to enhance my bartering skills. So I would oftentimes offer up little cleanup projects or something for a little local business or something, letting them know my situation. Hey, I'm just traveling through the mountains. I'm not even on the trail. And I'm just, if I see a town and I want to go in and get a signal so I can do a little socializing on the network, I do that. I'd like to use your Wi-Fi, and in the meantime, I'd like to buy a sandwich and a drink or something. You got something I can do real quick?
Right.
And you'd be surprised at how many people understand that when you just tell them the fucking truth. You don't have to be a homeless bum. You just let them know your true journey, and it's called journaling.
Wizard, I actually grew up.
First Amendment auditors, they go about it all wrong, I think. I'm a journalist. No, you are journaling. Are you trying to tamper with a witness to my private journal?
That's valid. That's straight valid.
It's very simple language.
Yeah.
Do it, learn it, and stick to it.
You were a couple of days ago. You had said something about being up on the mountain and the Appalachian Trail and everything like that. I don't know if you know, but my parents have a house, or they had a house, or they still do, I guess. But it's about 5 miles from that plane site, or the plane, whatever crash bullshit that didn't really happen, that did happen, that didn't happen type deal. Which is, that's Appalachia if I've ever heard it. It's not deep Appalachia, but it's Appalachia nonetheless.
Yep. There's a lot of shit goes on in them mountains. Deep in them mountains, you get a lot of ginseng hunters and stuff that get very prideful about their areas and the money they make off of that. And again, that's a taxing burden on the earth. Those things aren't meant to be for sale. They're meant to be for physicians. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Medicine's
Absolutely.
not to be sold, folks. And so even when we get to those Southern Appalachians that do that kind of stuff, I still have a hard time with it. Even the moonshiners, the moonshiners, they do it for sale. I've never done it for sale. I'll moonshine as much as I motherfucking want to, and I'll give it all away. And you can call it moonshine, you can call it fuel, you can call it incense burner, you can call it whatever you want. It's yours. You get to name it. You know what I mean?
Turning rifles into doorknobs.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and thanks for reminding me. I wanted to mention that in the details section, what we're talking about, folks, and when I come back after we're done here with the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, is, like I said, bringing that immunity on both sides of the table. And that's turning those guns into doorknobs. You don't have to walk with weapons. You can have that sword, but you don't have to use it as a weapon. So when you come to the table with guns, make sure they're in the right form. Peaceful words. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. So if there's any kind of controversy, bring the peace to the table and make sure it's the right peace. Doesn't have to be.
I carry a daily basis that they always ask me about, and I always let them know those are tools for my trade. Would you like to see them? I could show you what I do. You're muted.
I've got this video I'm wanting to pull up, but I've got over 721 videos now, so it's taking me a while to get down to it because it's one of the first videos I put up. It's from when I come back from the mountains and first started really doing a lot of videos. I'm going to turn the volume off because it's awful windy. Actually, what I'll do is I'll turn it down.
Oh, that looks like home. Oh, yeah, that looks like home. Wizard, you're gonna end up making me have a fit of travelage, not illness, just travelage. Oh God.
Gotta fold around.
Where is that?
This is out in the White Mountains in what was it, New Hampshire, I think. I was in Maine for a while in New Hampshire.
That's fucking gorgeous, man. I went to
Absolutely.
I went to Michigan a while back, and we went up through the Yoop, and I was up in that same kind of environment, obviously very far from, but where you have drop-offs and everything like that. My dad was with me, and it was just like being back in Pennsylvania because my dad was with me. It was the whole 9 yards. It was great.
Yeah. And I urge people, you know, that's part of this societal problem. You know, I'm the barefoot guy. I love grounding and all that. I'm Tom Sawyer. I love mud squishing between my toes. I love being outdoors. Do a lot of fishing and whatnot. I'd really like I've said several times, I'd really like to get into doing some survival videos. This lush. So one of these days that's going to come. But until then, you know, this is what I'm going to do. But I urge everybody to get back to your natural sources. That's where you're going to find your grounding and your spirituality. As long as you stay in these societies and follow the manual strictness and guidelines and licensing and registrations and rules and sanctions and ordinances, you're going to forget about the original sanctification and ordinance of the word that was written on your heart before anybody else even knew you. Know thyself. That thyself is that word. Get back to it. Quit listening to everybody else and their bullshit. I mean, hear it and do your research on it, but don't just listen to it and then believe it. You have to quit believing shit. Do your research so you can take out of context that which you need to get the reality of what's being said. And with that, I think we're going to close out. Nubs, anything else?
Nope. Not really. I have nothing to offer. I'm offerless. I'm a zero, Wizard. I'm a zero.
You're a zero. Huh? Awesome. Well, we appreciate everything you put out tonight, brother. We've certainly taken some good vibes and some good information from your firsthand experiences, and that's what we need to do. Like I said, we need to start listening to each other and our objective views so we get a better perspective for our own discretion. That doesn't mean we have to believe everybody, but at least listen to their objective view, have that open-mindedness so you can see it a better perspective in whole. When you think that your perspective is so damn right, you're leaving out 360 degrees by 360 degrees to the 360 degree powers.
Right.
So with that, remember, folks, I love you, but I don't give a fuck whether you love me back or not. God bless. Have a good night. I will be back with the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act video here after, or stream here in a little bit. Be watching for it. If not, see us again tomorrow. Have a good night.